Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the Speaker's Pulse. This is the place where we discuss about matters that deal with public speaking and leadership. And as usual, this place or today we bring to you yet another exciting topic that is titled The Cost of Glossophobia. And that huge word, or that rather traumatizing word, glossophobia, simply means the fear of public speaking. A friend of mine told me that Joshua, simply because you don't know that something is actually happening does not stop it from happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know that there is surely a cost on glossophobia, on you not actually working on your public speaking skills, or the fear of public speaking in you, doesn't really mean that it actually is not there. As a matter of fact, there is a cost to the fear of public speaking. And many of you probably can know a person or two that has failed to get that extra job, failed to get that extra opportunity, failed to talk to that wonderful potential someone. And you know how many relationships have gone not made, how many jobs have gone not done, and how many opportunities to mend the right, mend the wrong that have actually gone untapped in, simply because we cannot be able to stand and say that we believe in that thing that we think truly matters to us. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining in from wherever you are, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I hope that by the end of today, we will have learned a thing or two about how to deal with the fear of public speaking. Now, you are in the right place because tonight we have great company. Company of a bunch of good friends of mine, people that I know very well, people that I respect, great professionals, great speakers as well. If you know these two friends that I've invited today, you know they are indeed amazing speakers. And who better to tell us about how to deal with the nerves that come with standing on the podium than the two great speakers that I have here. I have Doreen Wera, who is currently the Vice President Education of one of the clubs in Kigali, Kigali Executive Toastmasters. And we also have Sartongo Ga, a president of Tres Toastmasters Club. Now, Toastmasters, again, is a community of professionals or people that want to develop their communication skills and leadership. Again, what what better team can we have than a team from Toastmasters? So tonight we are all in for a great time. So I think since we have the rules clear and everything is laid, I think the party should surely begin. My name is Tainuka Joshua, and I will be your host tonight. To kick us off tonight, I'd like to ask Doreen to tell us who you truly are, Doreen, and if you may, tell us your journey of public speaking. How did it actually start? Doreen, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Joshua, and good evening, all our viewers across the world. Thank you for tuning in. I will just say that I do not know why he gives me the props, but I take the credit. Like Joshua has mentioned, my name is Doreen Uwera, and I am an advisory associate. I love public speaking, and the journey of public speaking began in 2016 back at my university. And I remember the very first time I was invited to talk, it was a random lecture, and there was this lecturer in the auditorium, and she called me to the front. Of course, the first bit was explaining why she had gathered students to talk about Toastmasters. And honestly speaking, Toastmasters, I knew it was about toasting bread. So about Toastmasters, and then it was public speaking. I was like, okay, cool, no worries. I mean, I also loved talking. It's another passion that I am interested in. So she called me to the front because I was on the front seat, and she gave me a pair of keys to say, please say something about a pair of keys. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you are called to the front in an auditorium of lecturers and students and all kinds of peers to describe keys, what are you going to say? Now that moment really started my Toastmaster. I started delivering speeches, and the curriculum was being introduced to us slowly by slowly. And that's when I became the first club president. This was at Nkozi Gavo Club in Uganda Matters University. That was in 2016. And then my journey as club president was so awesome. I felt like, yes, I'm the Barack Obama of the university. And when you are named president, everyone gives you the credit, they give you all the respect due. Fast forward, in 2017, 18, I had a bit of a slack. I wasn't inconsistent because I had gotten into work that was really, really so demanding. And then my journey in Toastmasters was a bit of a pause. But in 2019, I decided, look, people are progressing across the world, by the way, and you can see people actually becoming better speakers and better leaders. Why not revive this in me? Because I was just good at what I was doing at work, but am I out there? Am I confident in the people? That let me give it another revival. And that's when I joined Kigali Executives Toastmasters. And here we are today. I am the Vice President Education. I am in layman's language, the lecturer, the university lecturer of Toastmasters. And I love, that's my journey. I must say, from then till today, I have felt a different person, and I'm able to speak to people confidently, irrespective of the ages, and I learn and understand that to approach a meeting is different from the way you approach, say, a congregation of children or a congregation full of executives. And really, Toastmasters has been that for me. Thank you.
Much, Doreen. That was quite a tale. I'm glad that you eventually found your feet. Thank you so much. Wow, from making a speech about keys and now to leading a whole club as a vice president education. How about you, Salto? In just brief, tell us about Salto and his journey to public speaking. His journey of public speaking.
Thank you so much, Joshua. It is a great pleasure to be part of this talk, to be part of this conversation. And of course, I hope it will be a great one, it will be an empowering one, it will be one of sharing our experiences. So my name is Saltongoga, as you just said it. And by profession, I work in the finance department of One Acre Fund. It's an NGO that works with smallholder farmers. And in addition to that, I am president of Chess Toastmasters Club. And my public speaking journey did begin when I was in secondary school, but it was not, I was not really in love with public speaking because I had this terrible fear of public speaking. Now, why did I get into that public speaking while not loving it really? So at our school, we used to go into responsibilities. It was a must, if I may say. At some point, when you are like in senior 5, you had to be a leader in something, and I was a leader not by choice. So it was really terrible for me. I had this fear of public speaking, and then later on, it continued in university, at college, and then in 2018, I got to know Toastmasters from a classmate, and this is when I started to see have another perspective on public speaking. I got into Toastmasters. I knew that I had this fear of public speaking, and I had that will of getting rid of this fear. So this is when I started to practice these skills. Joining the club week in week out and start to practice. And I was really happy that I found a safe environment, a safe place for me to to to, how can I say, to sharpen these skills so that I can be really successful out there. This is when I started really to fall in love with this public speaking. So that's about me.
Yeah, so thank you so much again, Sato, for sharing that. And I think your story is going to be very crucial in this conversation because we are talking actually about the fear of public speaking or the fear of speaking in public. And I believe both of you have had one or two experiences or encounters with the fear of speaking. And I therefore want to thank you so much again for sharing your stories. Now, I want to ask you guys, seems that all of us, apparently all of us, have the fear or the nerves. In fact, there's a research out there that says that three three of the four people that you will meet have the fear of speaking. In other words, they are terrified by the idea of speaking in public. In fact, there's one funny comedian who say that some people fear speaking, that they fear speaking more than they fear death. And there's so much that there's also a lot of information out there saying that public speaking is the number one feared or dreaded thing in the world, and death comes
Yeah.
next. How entirely true that is, but it comes to show the depth of the problem it is, which is the fear of speaking. And I want to put this question to you guys: what do you think is the cause for fear of speaking? I'm going to begin with you, Doreen, and then Salto will come next. So just briefly.
All right. I'm just going to give like 5 pointers or probably 3. Whenever you can stop me, Joshua, feel free. But one of the reasons why people fear public speaking, and this is actually evident everywhere, whether you are speaking to a congregation at church, whether you're speaking to your fellow classmates, whether you even news anchor, you tend to feel that you will be judged. So some people think that they will be judged, and in that way they're like, no, I fear speaking because people will judge me. What if I say this statement wrong? What if I do not pronounce the word properly? What if my accent is not to the expectation? Or if I am too good, people always look on me and feel like I'm too proud. So there is that element of being judged, and that's when people decide and say, look, I can't do this, I can't speak, I can't talk. So they back out. And then the other opinion that I think, in my opinion, why people fear public speaking is the perception of comparing yourself with others, because you see Doreen as one who knows how to speak and she's all eloquent, very confident, very vibrant. I cannot take on the stage because I mean, she's still good. Me, I'm not yet there. I do not know how to get to the level that she is. So you'd end up comparing yourself to Doreen or to Salto. And in that way, if you view Doreen as the Barack Obama or the famous public speakers that we always follow, we will never get to move a step ahead. So there is that comparison between yourself and others. Then another thing is in the corporate world, I would like to say, is this is really based on my opinion and based on the interactions I have read and seen all over, is there is this perception to say that public speaking is for the top management or the senior managers. So it's not something that you use anyways, because all right, it's the manager, the suit and tie. He is the one who is going to sell the idea to the business, to the prospect clients. So the perception that public even getting an opportunity to share your ideas and be able to, and people can buy it from you and place, and then being nervous. And this I say because I also face this always. For example, before I actually came on this channel, I was so nervous. I was thinking to myself, what am I going to say? I'm really, really nervous. I imagine like there's so many people watching me. So in that way, people actually, and this actually really happens, especially when you are a client and you are also, it's more a buyer. So you are the seller, you're selling your idea or your product to a buyer. And when you are selling that idea with less comfort, with less confidence, the buyer may be very, not convincing. And there is your body actions, by the way, your body actions will actually speak out, say this person nervousness just kills it. No, I can't do public speaking anymore. Maybe Salto could add on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doreen. And sorry, our viewers, if you just joined in, we are actually having a conversation around the fear of public speaking. To begin with, we just started, and our wonderful panelists are actually talking about or addressing what really causes the fear of speaking in public, or the nerves that we get when we actually are hitting stage. And some of us never get a chance to really say. So Doreen has given us a couple of reasons why she is causes public speaking. And now I'd like to put this question to you, Sato. Do you think there's anything that Doreen has left out that you think is really critical to mention as a big cause for public speaking fears, or for the big word, glossophobia?
Yes, thank you, Joshua. Maybe to add up on what Doreen has just said, sometimes we have this fear of public speaking because of lack of experience. So if you don't do something so often, it is obvious that you have fear when doing this thing. If, let's say, you drive for the first time, it's obvious that you have fear, riding or driving in a road full of traffic. It's clear that you have this fear. So let's say if you don't have a chance to speak so much in your work environment, maybe in your family gatherings, if you don't have this time to practice, it's so obvious that you have this fear of public speaking. And of course, there is also fear of loss. If something is at stake, let's say you are on an interview and you have this mouth-watering contract that you must grab, you have maybe a scholarship that you are, trying to have and continue your studies. Those are a few examples. If you have something really at stake, you will have this fear of loss. You will say, like, what if I lose this? What if I don't get this life-changing opportunity? So this will create the fear of public speaking in you. Maybe another thing will be social anxiety, psychological factors, maybe an experience that you may have faced in your life. When you are a kid or a grown up, you may have acted in a weird way in public, and your parents come and tell you, you have done this in a very bad way. You could have done it in a better way. And the next time when you are going to speak, or when you are going to address yourself to a huge audience, your unconscious mind will try to remind you those things that happened to you in the past, and it will happen unconsciously. There will be this talk in your mind: what if I lose it again? What if I am humiliated again? So this can also cause this glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. And maybe researchers can add up more. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
Thank you so much for mentioning that, especially one, of course, you talked about if you don't have experience, you definitely have the license to be scared or have the fear because it's a new thing you're trying. And secondly, it could be something that happened to you and you probably have been traumatized by an experience. And I recently learned, and well, I wouldn't say very recently, but it's also true that it could be an illness, it could be a disorder that you have. And that's why we should be very careful, in my opinion, to laugh at people that struggle or laugh at people that don't make it or when they speak or even when they fail. I've been in environments where a person is given a chance to speak before multitudes of people and they simply freeze. And this could be a simple a disorder, and therefore people should find help. And I'm going, of course, at the end of towards the end of the show, we're going to discuss more now. What can we do to develop our self-confidence? What can we do to become better speakers? But before we can advance, I want to recognize some of our wonderful people that have actually commented. I want to thank you so much, Octave. Very good brother. He was here right at the start with the counting down of 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for being here. We have Tracy who just said, "Oh, I'm just tuning in." Tracy, Mimi, thank you so much for joining. We have Barbara. Barbara, I suspected this is Barbara, my new friend. Thank you so much, Barbara, for tuning in. A great public speaking enthusiast as well. She says, the question was, what do you think causes the fear of speaking? And Barbara says that lack of enough preparation and the fear of making mistakes. I think we did talk more about this. I think Doreen talked about it, and also Salto echo this. Definitely very important. In fact, guys, it is the founder of Toastmasters, the Ralph Smedley, who once said that the unprepared speaker has all the right to be scared because they did not prepare, and therefore, what else can we expect? So, thank you so much, Barbara, for giving us that. She also puts in brackets that when you have no space to make mistakes, and that's why I think the two of you did talk about why you love Toastmasters and what happened, and you came in and you got a safe space to deliver this, and that was great for your development and your confidence. So again, Barbara here was on point. So Tav comes again, says that I really don't know if there is scientific evidence backing this up, but I think it is acquired or learned from one's environment. I have seen many kids who never experienced it until later in life. Now, that's something that Tom did mention, maybe the experience that you get during the course of your life, it could actually come back to influence how you eventually behave and have the fear of speaking. So again, thank you so much, Octave. I'm pretty much sure that's an opportunity for research, and we can actually find more data or evidence-driven conclusions on that. Barbara comes again and says, something I have observed is when there are negative vibes in your audience, sometimes seen through non-verbal communication, they can mess up your opportunity to deliver a great presentation. And it's absolutely spot on. Whenever there's anything that stabilizes you, it can actually have an impact on how you actually behave. And I'll ask you guys if any one of you has had that particular experience of having someone in the audience that gives you like some look, or it could be your manager, it could be your boss, man. It could be your boss with some interesting verbal cues, and when you see that, you're just taken off, and that actually demoralizes you, or it brings down your confidence from maybe 100 or even 50 to somewhere close to 0. And Benjamin, another really good friend of ours, he says, great insights. Thank you, Doreen and Salto, for sharing your journey. So thank you, guys. I want to ask you before we go to the next point, has any one of you guys experienced any of those elements, especially what Barbara mentioned about having some negative vibes in the audience, and that actually brings down your confidence? Anyone? Doreen, you are nodding in acceptance. Experience?
I say that with very much confidence. And of course, when Barbara is talking of an audience, most of the viewers or many of us think it's a huge audience of around 500 people or 300 people, but an audience can just be between you and I, or an audience can just be between me and my teammates of 5 people or 4 people. And this I've experienced it because I personally faced this before. And this was the time I was at a client, and I remember we were giving an audit opinion, and because there was a finding that we needed to clarify and close, I was not personally very confident about it. The senior challenged me, to go and resolve that issue because this is something you are owning up to. So when I approached the client, I was a bit scared, really, and I had known that I had done this work, and I was very confident about this finding. But will the client actually be convinced about it? So when I was communicating, when we were interacting, the client actually overpowered me, like raised the bar over me, and in that, I actually exposed myself, and I was very weak, and I decided to show my weak side as a an employee. So in the long run of the conversation, I remember this vividly because we were talking and then we didn't come to a conclusion. So I remained there seated wondering what has actually happened. And then minutes later, the senior walked in and he's like, I don't want, let's handle this together. Not telling me directly, like, you know what, Doreen, please leave. Let me deal with the senior. But he brought the senior in the room and made it look like I'm not very convinced by her speech, by her documentation. Please, let's resolve this. So I really totally agree with Barbara. And when you are not convincing, when you're not confident, when you show this nervousness, even about something that you are sure about, it can actually, I mean, the audience's reaction will just, lose it for you. So I agree with Barbara.
That's a very interesting point. In fact, sorry about that, Doreen. It's I was feeling already, disturbed for you. I mean, I'm glad you're of course over it, but it must have been a daunting experience. That's why I attended a number of trainings and some of about public speaking, and some of the things they told us to do is always look at during your speech. Always look at the person you came with, maybe a friend, or if you have no friend, there's always this person that is actually rooting for you. I don't care how bad you are, but in the audience there's always this person rooting for you, nodding and trying to to show you, to encourage you. So focus your eyes, put your eyes on that person, and that will probably give you the motivation to keep on and building. Don't focus on the negative energy. As we all know, there's also there's that power that comes with negativity, and that actually can corrupt you, can demoralize you, and get you into the area of feeling. I want us to go on, and I want to thank everyone that is commenting. Benjamin, thank you. Oh, a very good friend, very good friends. Voice Masters Africa TV, thank you so much. I'll be coming back to your comments. These are really wonderful insights, friends. We will definitely address these comments. Now, friends, I want to ask you, we are here talking about the fear of speaking, and but under the theme of the cost of glossophobia, which is glossophobia, the fear of speaking. Do you really think there is a cost to fear of speaking? Is there anything that we lose?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Did you lose Joshua?
Is it me or Joshua?
Can't hear him as well.
Okay, probably it's Joshua. But you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Oh,
So I think he was trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
talk about the
Yeah, we lost
costs.
Joshua in the meeting. Okay. Yeah, the cost of public speaking. And
Yeah, of
I
this,
do not know,
yeah.
do we wait for him or we can? He will probably get on, but I ideally, do we lose? What's the cost of public speaking? Yeah, would you like to go first? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. So I think for me, I really doubt that one can achieve his or her full potential when they still struggle with this fear of public speaking. So why I'm saying this, it's because um, it's not only just public speaking. Public speaking is part of communication, and when there is no right communication, it and communication is something that is really cross-cutting in all aspects of life, be it at the workplace, be it in our relationships, family and friends. So if you don't communicate effectively, there is a high risk that you will not be effective in whatever endeavor you are engaged in. So I think working on this can really help us in many aspects of our life. If we, let's say, talk about the work environment, you'll find that if you are given an opportunity to speak, or if you are given a chance to speak at your workplace or deliver something, you will struggle. Yes, I think we have Joshua now.
Yeah, sorry, my internet got a problem, but I'm back. Thank you so much, Salto.
It's okay.
Yeah, you found us in the middle. We are still discussing on the cost implications, or what can the fear of public speaking get away from you. And I was saying that it's not on. We are not only speaking of talking about public speaking itself. It's also about communication, and communication is something very important in all the aspects of our lives. So this is something that can cost us, be it in the workplace. We find some people are really talented, they have it all, they are really smart, but when it comes to deliver something or to speak, to give their insights, to give what they think about something, they are really having this fear that is a barrier to what they can achieve. So some people can be really bad at public speaking, or having this fear of public speaking, and never get to reach their potential. That's in the workplace. Again, I think there is a barrier. It can be a barrier to leadership. For me, I consider leadership as it's a noble calling to me, and if you can't be a good leader if you're not a good communicator, and you will rarely get chances to be in leadership positions or to challenge yourself in a position of a leader, or to serve people as a leader when you are not a good communicator. It is rare that people will trust someone who has this fear of public speaking. So, in a nutshell, it can really hamper you achieve your full potential.
Mm. Thank you so much, Salto. I so much agree with you, and I feel like you introduced us with a great uh, point of generally it hinders your progress as an individual. Are there any specifics, Doreen, you can think of?
Well, like he has mentioned, I will just subdivide it. For example, your social networks or your social community tends to decrease because you have this nervous act of fearing to speak in public or fearing to speak with your peers. You realize that speaking and this communication and the leadership with our career, but even with our peers, it makes a huge impact in our lives. you know if you're not able to talk to someone freely, if you're not able to share your ideas, if you're not able to take opportunities and let yourself fail and learn again, you will never actually have a community of friends that can be able to be by your side, learn from you, grow with you, and actually help you build your networks or build your profile or build your confidence as a person. And then, there is also therefore you want to represent a company when opportunities arise. So you imagine your individual reputation or your your brand is actually, I do not want to say destroyed, but is minimized. You limit yourself of these opportunities. Of course, at times, like I had mentioned, we tend to think that it's only for top management, but I like us to, and I really advocate this for different corporate organizations, and I mean, it's something that I've not experienced much, but I view that an organization culture should actually give an opportunity to all employees, whether junior, whether senior, to let them, come to the podium and say something. And with the training and the guidance, there is so much that you can actually pick out from each and every employee, because each each person, every bit counts. Every bit, I mean, every employee in an organization actually counts. It's not just the top management, but every part of an organization does count. And then also, Salto mentioned it does, I read in an article by the BBC Work Life, and they quoted in the Financial Times, they quoted saying, the Financial Times columnist Lucy Kellaway has described her own fear of public speaking as being as career limiting. You get it? And legendary investor, this is Warren Buffett that we are so commonly attached to, even credits a public speaking course as directly contributing to his own success. Now, if Warren Buffett is actually acknowledging that public speaking course is a contributor to his own success, that says a lot that, even him as one of the wealthiest men in the world, he also has that fear, or he's also trying to improve on that public speaking. So it affects your work life and it really limits on your career progress.
Thank you so much, Doreen. I feel like you said so much amazing stuff in there. It definitely affects our career. It also affects our workplace. And actually, in the chat, we have a conversation that just started asking, do you think there is a cost to glossophobia, or there's a cost of glossophobia? What do you think is the cost of glossophobia? And the other question is, do you think our workplace or careers are affected by the fear of speaking in public? And there's actually research out that I stumbled upon that the people that have the fear of public speaking, when it comes to remunerations and salaries, they get 10% less than what they're actually supposed to get. 10%. And the fear of speaking and that less of the confidence that you have, or limited confidence that you can have, can actually limit one's ability to be promoted to a managerial position. And they put a tune of about 15%, meaning is actually a chance, 15% chance for a person who is not a good public speaker, or let me just say not good, but not just public speaking, but a person with less confidence or poor communicator will get less chances or less opportunities to be promoted. And there's also a huge figure that companies lose on an annual basis as a result of people that are poor communicators. And sometimes we look at a person who is struggling with communication and we just think they are rude, or they are just not good enough for anything. But sometimes they just generally fear. And because of how they are fearing, or because of the fear of speaking, they come out to us as if they're rude, as if they're arrogant, and they're sometimes covering something. I don't know about you guys, but I have heard of bosses or managers that back onto their employees and later on confess that it's not because they're bad people, it's just because they were scared, just because they don't know how to say it. Or they have that fear when speaking or addressing people. And this actually seems to have a huge limitation to people. I mean, talk about even in your school, if you're a PhD, or if you are going to defend or a project, or you're a researcher and you cannot communicate effectively, how much more do you think you're going to gain out of that? And therefore, it looks to me like there is a serious cost to speaking in public. Later on, we always joke about these things, but how about the relationships that we miss out? How about that wonderful person that you let go because you had the fear of speaking, and you just let her go, or let him go, if you like, simply because you felt, oh man, I don't think I can make it. Let's talk about networking. Someone talked to me and say that your network determines your network, and I think it's definitely true. Literally, people that we know determine almost everything around us. So it also helps us in networking. And if you see a person that you've always wanted to talk to, it actually might have an impact on that, right? Does anyone have something to add on the cost of glossophobia or the cost of fear of speaking before we can read out the comments?
I think I've also heard about people shying away great opportunities because of this fear. And someone comes and lets you know that there is an opportunity. Can you maybe speak on the behalf of these people? Can you do something for these people? Can you advocate for these people? And you find people can sometimes shy away because they have this fear of public speaking, and eventually lose big opportunities in their lives.
Absolutely. So there's definitely there's need for us to start working on self-confidence, on becoming better. Because the person communication is genuine. Sometimes we get lost into this thing called public speaking, but surely if you bring it down, it can boil down to great communication skills, which are invaluably important in our not only in our corporate life but also in our social life. Let's get back to our comments, and I really want to thank everyone that joined. Again, please, if you're joining for the first time, this is the Speaker's Pulse, and all we do is speak about communication, about public speaking, about leadership, all those. We also believe that speaking really matters. And therefore, if you like to be part of this conversation every fortnight, please go ahead and like or just comment or simply subscribe so that you can always get updates whenever we are getting live or anything that pops up here so that you can always be updated. Please subscribe to this channel so that you can always have this conversation on. So we have a few comments I found really interesting. There's again our friend Benjamin asked the question. I'll ask you guys to answer this later if time allows. He says that at what stage now would you say I beg your pardon. At what stage now at your stage now, sorry, how would you measure your glossophobia while on the stage on a scale of 1 to 10? And I'll ask you guys if you just can give us a number, 1 to 10. Well, for 1 to 10, you guys, I'll come back to you. And Voice Masters Africa TV brings a really interesting remark regarding our previous question of what causes fear. And it says that the lack of knowledge on the topic the speaker has chosen. As a speaker, we should make it a point to learn public speaking and then practice. Very important. We also need to choose topics which we are familiar with 100%. In fact, 101%. This is Zedi, yet another great friend of ours, says that that's a great tip. Joe, I think he mentions the tip of looking at the person that is more likely to smile at you than make a funny face or present a gloomy face to you. And then we also have Octave coming. He says that, oh, I was actually telling you guys when I was affected by the internet. I was kicked out of the internet. Thank you so much, Octave, for always watching out for me. You're a great, great person. And then we have Hagari, a great friend from Ethiopia. Hagari, I think this is Hagari from Ethiopia. I really hope I'm right. And then he says that very useful discussion. I have been in Toastmaster. TM is actually Toastmaster for long, but I am learning this as a newcomer. Thank you so much. Again, we are very delighted that you are finding value in our conversation. So Octave comes again to respond to what Voice Masters actually were saying. He says, I agree. Jordan Peterson suggests one should know a lot. 3 or 4 times as much as what you're going to speak about. At minimum, I found it a great tip indeed. And just basically, I think the general picture here is know as much as you can, research, get to be comfortable with the topic so that you can actually be able to contribute significantly. So we have another comment by Hagari Waldi. He says, yes, I believe it affects, and this is actually in reference to the effect of the fear of speaking. Because unless you speak, people wouldn't know about your knowledge, your ability, and so much more, which is absolutely true. If people don't know what you're capable of doing, they probably are not going to give you that opportunity. So I so much agree, 100% at one as well. Agree. So we have this guy called. He says, hi, Joshua, Doreen Iseka. And this person is really excited. We are very happy to have you, this guy called, with us. So, friends, I just want to come back to you. There's a question that has been posed to you on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you say you are when you're introduced to the stage? How much fear do you think you have from 1 to? I don't know how you can actually measure that, but I'm just and then we proceed. Doreen, give us a number, just a number. Don't explain it.
No, but yeah, I mean, 1 to 10. 10 is like highest fear or low fear, you know.
Yeah, very good point.
In my opinion, if
my bad, my communication skills have gone ahead of myself. So 1 is a little number, meaning you're really great. It's the least. 1 is the least. I beg your pardon, and then 10, you are terrified to death.
4 out of 10. Very confidently, 4 out of 10.
Nice. I want to be like you, Doreen, when I grow up. All right. So, about you, 1 to 10?
I think maybe I will give myself a 5, and I think Doreen is not right in predicting her score, because I know she's quite confident.
Quite confident. Yes, I agree with you.
Maybe to add on something, sometimes the fear will depend on how you are used to something. Maybe you may be in front of a new audience, in front of something new, or talking about a subject that you really don't know about. So the score may depend on the circumstance.
That's very true. And maybe this brings me to another question. There is always this question that comes to me every time I go to train about public speaking and I give tips about the fear of speaking, how to conquer the fear of speaking. And they always ask me, do you think you ever get rid of the nerves? Do you ever 100? Do you get to 1 as a speaker? Is there a time when you have, like, from the start to the end, that and you have no fear whatsoever, no nerves whatsoever in your own experience? What do you think, guys?
Well, for me, I think that you need to have some ounces of fear, because if you don't have fear at all, it can also be destructive to what you're going to say. So you need to have excitement, maybe a little bit of fear for you to get prepared, because if you don't have fear at all, you may not even think about preparing. You think, no, I'm confident, I'm going to ace it, I'm going to do it. So I think having a little bit of fear, it can help you in some ways. But I think when it comes to glossophobia, that's an issue that one really needs to assess.
So you're just saying that you cannot fully get away with fear, and in fact, you say it is good to have some level of fear so that you can take it seriously. Doreen, what about you? Doreen? Okay, I think Doreen has, just like myself, has been affected by the internet. Doreen, are you there?
She's coming back.
Okay, I think Doreen is back. Doreen, do you hear us? Are you able to hear me? Okay, I think Doreen is. I think her internet has got an issue. But then I like also to say that definitely you can never say that, personally, and I really speak from my own experience. There's no single time I go to speak to people and I feel like 100% no nerves. In fact, I always have the butterflies at the beginning, but as you gain experience, you learn how to use that anxiety that you have for your own good, and you channel it into the right direction where you maybe begin very well. And also the thing that I do, and I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about how to deal with the fear of speaking that you do, that help you gain a little bit more confidence, and that sets you up for success. And I have to mention that don't panic when you have the fear, when you have the nerves. In fact, the nerves are actually a good thing. It means that you care about that particular thing.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Can you say, can anyone boost to be very confident that they never have the nerves at the beginning of any speech?
Personally, no. I mean, for me, every time that I'm given an opportunity to present a speech or talk in front of people, I always get nerves. Like, there's no point I don't have fear. I mean, that's for me as my own experience. I've never seen anyone saying that I don't have confidence, go there. I mean, there's a point in time, especially even if you're used to a certain audience, there's a point in time at least you get to be nervous and then take a deep breath and then go on. But there's that element of nervousness at the beginning.
In fact, Doreen, there's a big crowd following you, saying that yes, you can never get rid of the fear of speaking. And one of them is a familiar name. He goes by the name Carl Mabuka. And he says, thanks, panelists. This is a very important discussion. Thank you so much, Carl. A very good friend. It's always, always wonderful to have you, Carl. There's another familiar name, Vanessa, our friend as well. She says that she loves, she says, there has never been a time for me. And I think she's referring to a time when, with the question that we asked, can we ever get rid of the nerves? And she says, there's always that moment when your heart drops, oh my Jesus. Yes, it does. She says, taking control is what matters, I guess. And I think it's so true, because earlier on, we're talking about that the most important thing is to use the nerves for the better. And Carl also comes to cement this and says that you never get over the nerves. Just use them enough. Just used to them enough to control them. He said that he's actually used to them. He's just used them enough, and now he knows how to control them. And I think it's also in line with what we were talking about earlier on. So again, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you, all of you, Vanessa, Carl, this guy, Cord. I want to thank Octave. So thank you so much for coming, for joining us. Hagari, Zeki, Voice Masters, Benjamin, Barbara, and Tracy as well, and any other person that did not comment but is here with us. I can also see Diane Musi says, thank you so much, guys, for great conversation. I want to thank you for coming and being part of this conversation. Again, if you're coming for the first time, you have not yet subscribed to this channel of the great insights on public speaking and leadership, this is your time. Just click that button and let's keep the conversation on. As we come to the evening of our conversations, my friend, now is that point for you to give us tips on how to deal with the nerves. How do you deal with the nerves? Give us your own tricks on how to deal with this common enemy that is against our lives. Can I ask you, Doreen, to go first, and then we'll have Sato next?
All right. So one point I would like to give is, whenever you are going to speak in front of people, or whenever you're going to speak in front of a crowd, always know that it's not about you, it's about the audience. Because you see, as much as you want to improve your public speaking or your communication or your leadership skills, think about how the audience will actually perceive of what you are giving. So you always have to ensure that in as much as you practice, you research about what you're going to present, think about the other people, not yourself. And, you know, at times we want to be perfect, but there is no perfection. So it's always important to always think about the audience and not about yourself. And then an article from Harvard Business Review quoted said, while you are speaking, make eye contact. Make use of the eye contact. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the eye contact is the highest distractor, and at the same time, the highest powerful tool if not utilized well. And this is based on my experience. Why do I say so? It's because as a distractor, if you are not looking at the individual, if you're not eyes to the public or to the audience, you will end up forgetting what you have actually come to give. So your mind is now looking at probably the windows or any kind of a distractor. So the roof or ink dropped on the window, that's a distractor. And then if it is utilized well, you have the attention of the audience. You have the audience buying your idea, buying your confidence, your trust. In that way, there is a sort of synchronization. There's a sort of confidence and build and say, yes, before you even finish explaining yourself, the client is like, you know what, please give me your business card. I will contact you. There is that feel of comfort, and in the future, you are a future reference to another bidder or in any form of any sort of proposal. So eye contact is really, really important, because when you give the individual the eye, I'm talking to you, so buy my idea. That way, if there is that high contact, I assure you, you will get that client buying your idea. And the other thing is, of course, like we've mentioned, be prepared. Like, be prepared whenever you want to speak to, I mean, if our own pastors prepare for the sermon, why not you, an individual, prepare your PowerPoint to sell an idea to the public? Why not you prepare a short presentation to entice students to read hard and work hard and engage themselves in, activities? Always be prepared and practice. Practice actually gives you more confidence. So you practice to yourself. Personally, I always do this. I read to myself, I read to the mirror, and then, beforehand, I always read to a couple of friends, because sometimes it's always good to know if you are actually doing well or there's a bit of improvement to work on here and there. And do not focus on being perfect. If perfectionism is never there at all. If we were all perfect, we wouldn't all be, having this fear of public speaking anyway. So it's important to just be yourself. Allow spaces where you say, okay, I delivered this speech. I think I should have done this better. Next time I will do this. Or I think my eye contact actually improved, or my voice, my audibility has actually strengthened. The next time you deliver a speech or you stand in a crowd of people, there is a bit of growth here and there. So always aim to learn and not be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doreen, for those tips. And if I could just summarize them, I see someone is helping us. One, make eye contact. Two, practice before you engage, before you get to the audience, to your speech. And finally, don't bother, don't try, don't fast perfection. Just go for it, focus on the message and deliver that. Great. So Salto, do you have any other tips for us that we can go home with?
Yeah. The first thing is that people need to know that they will not get rid of this fear, as we have already mentioned. And I like to give the example of athletes. All these athletes we know, accomplished athletes, at some point they have played many games in their lives. But
Yeah.
if you are going to play a final, even not a final, just a game, you are always nervous. You always have these butterflies, as Joshua had mentioned earlier. So you need to know that it's okay to have it. And then after being aware of that, now you will have to deal with it. You have to, make it to make sure that you use it well. Another thing is that we need to be knowledgeable, as a friend of ours, Octave, had mentioned it earlier. I like the saying of, which goes like, you've not come this way to only come this way. If you have that chance to speak in front of people or to deliver something, you have to deliver a content that is powerful, that you know that it is going to have something to help other people, to impact other people. So therefore, you need to be knowledgeable. You need to prepare as well. Do preparations, and of course, practice, practice, practice.
Wow, wow, wow. And this is a common phrase in the area of public speaking and communication training, or even skills development. They always tell you that there are three ways to master anything. One, practice, practice, and finally, practice. So it always doesn't get you wrong. It always works for you. So thank you so much. And there's always a few comments that we have, and I want to read a few comments. And thank you so much, Barbara, for your tips. On the tips for to conquer public speaking, she says that sufficient preparation and surrounding yourself with positive people or positive energy in that case. And most importantly, keep in mind that no one will shoot you for not presenting as expected. I love this. It's good that you for it the way it is, present it the way it is. Sometimes it's just the message that matters. No one is going to shoot you for not doing it perfectly like you think you want, and just always go for it. And she also goes ahead to say, also know that there will be perfect days and bad days. Use both to even do better. I love this one also.
Yeah,
Just
very true.
isn't it? It's a journey that you're going to take. This is not going to be your last presentation. It's not probably not your first. If it's even your first, better, because truly more is yet to come. As long as you have that positive mind of, look, I'm going to improve every now and again, and you get better, that is a great thing to leverage. So thank you so much, Barbara. You've been such a great resource to us. And we have Olivier. She was saying, oh, great insights, dears. There's one person that had shared asked a question, and I would like you guys to react to this quickly, and then we will come to the end. And this is Clever Reverien. He says that, what do you make of fear of speaking and the lack of English vocabulary to use while expressing yourself? Do you think that I think the question would be phrased in a way that you say that, do you think that the lack of language, or when you're limited in language, it can actually cause you to fear to speak, confidently, or communicate confidently? So I just want each one of you guys to react on it in less than a minute and 30 seconds, and then we can come to the end.
In my opinion, sorry, I jumped in too fast because I had already, thought about it. But in my opinion, and I like his question because I've also faced that. And you find that most people, when they decide to shift from a country of origin to another country, and there's a different language and they have to adapt to the new system and the new form of communication, they have this barrier of, I cannot be able to communicate, I cannot be able to speak. But I'll just say 2 pointers. That's in my opinion, because I've faced this as myself. And one, Toastmasters, join Toastmasters, Clavier, Olivier. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Toastmasters is an education platform. And when the fact that you mentioned about the English vocabulary, Toastmasters is a communication platform which is actually spoken in English. And the beauty about Toastmasters is no one is actually trying to pin you and say this is wrong, this is right. They're actually trying to help you pronounce words better, help you avoid the panic or the shivering. They actually give you more words or vocabulary to use in your public speaking, or even in your social, gatherings with different friends here and there. So joining Toastmasters is actually something that will help you overcome that fear of public speaking and the use of vocabulary, or you could say perfecting of English language. And then the other point, I think, in my opinion, is we have so many languages across the world, and everyone wants to learn a language here and there. So I downloaded Duolingo app. I think I do not know how they pronounce it, but this was the time when I went for an engagement, and most of the people that I was working with were French speaking. So, you had to, like, how do they say this in French? And it gives you a certain, the pronunciation of the word. So exposing yourself to the different language educations, I could say, is also another tip that could actually help you learn a different language. That is for the case if you have shifted from an English-speaking country to, for example, a French-speaking country or a South African-speaking country. But generally, I think, in my opinion, joining Toastmasters will actually help you improve on your English speaking, because that is a platform that actually helps very many leaders and speakers and all employees and everyone. I mean, the bit about Toastmasters is it doesn't look at this is the CEO or this is the junior or this is the head of operations or the deputy general of a certain company. No, you are a public speaker, and that we respect about everyone. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Now, Doreen never stops or ceases to amaze me. She always has a way of, slotting in Toastmasters so you can find help as soon as possible. So thank you so much, Doreen, for telling us at least one thing that you are sure that has worked for people transitioning from a language to the other. And I hope that anyone who wants to develop and improve their English speaking can, take your advice and join Toastmasters around, near them, and they can actually use that to leverage the resources that you mentioned, the people and the resources, and the fact that we speak in English, it actually will help you grow your communication skills. But then the point, I think your answer was yes. When you're not confident in a language, therefore it actually eats away some of your confidence even when you hit on stage, because you're asking yourself, oh, will the people judge me, or will I say it right? Is that right? Did I get it right, Doreen? All
Yes,
right.
yes, definitely.
So do you think you want to add anything, or that was spot on?
Yeah, I think maybe what I can add on. So when you don't have a good command of the language, there is too much brain activity happening. Like you
Yeah.
have your brain trying to translate what you know in one language into what you are speaking, and then you have also to think about the content of what you are delivering. So this brain activity happening at simultaneously at the same time will not make you really confident. You will not be flawless. You will not be articulate. So the thing is, one needs to practice, as we say.
Mm.
Maybe I was also, I remember joining Toastmasters. I really didn't have a good command of English, but what helped me was to join the meeting, because by joining you can learn vocabularies through hearing what others are saying, and then if you have the context of what someone is saying and then the word that he's using, it is easier to learn it. And then of course reading is also a tool that has helped me a lot to boost my vocabulary.
Absolutely. So there's that in trio of learning a language, which is reading, speaking, and also listening. Well, read and I would say writing. In fact, it looks like
Yeah.
a very good stand of writing, listening, reading, and speaking that helps you accelerate your language mastery. So thank you so much, guys, so far for the great advice you've given to us. We are almost coming to the end. Let me just read a few comments and then I'll come with and we can give our parting shots. So the is yeah, Vanessa says truth. I think she's actually acknowledging the number of the advice above, or maybe the especially the practice one that we like to talk about. There's Chuba Hiro Rumia who says congratulations, guys. This journey is still at the beginning, but you'll get through it. Yes, I believe that the journey of becoming great speakers and great communicators in general is just starting, and we are only aiming for the highest. Now, Carl comes again to say to react on the vocabulary question asked by Reverien. He says that great vocabulary is always good to have as a speaker, but the use of advanced vocabulary can easily be detrimental in communication. I so much agree. There's a number of occasions where a person comes and use these bombastic words, and before you know, everyone is lost, just looking. They just feel as if something has just happened. And the essence of communication is for people to understand. And therefore, if you use big words, it will not actually help. And I agree with you, Carl. It can be actually detrimental. You go ahead, Carl goes ahead to say, generally, speeches that are simple to understand and direct the point tend to be the most enjoyable and educative. So much true. Communication is about simplicity. In fact, the whole point of communication is that the people understand it in the best way possible. And therefore, if you don't use the language that is simple for the people, sometimes, in fact, most of the times, you're going to lose them. And if you lose your audience, then the essence of educating them is surely lost. Carl, okay, Octave, I believe Octave, you got your answer there. And Hagari just says, thank you guys for the advice regarding the lack of language. It is one of my problems. We would like to say, Hagari, you're in the right place. Toastmasters is definitely a good place, but also, as Sato mentioned, endeavor to read and get to know more, keep a few more vocabulary, journals with you, and maybe each and every day write a few words that you've learned and try to use them in a sentence. And Toastmasters will give you the opportunity. Oh, by the way, you Toastmasters, I'm told that every meeting you always have a new word that people can actually use in the vocabulary. So if anyone wants to learn a new word every week or every fortnight, I think Toastmasters will have your back. Karangwa Nuari Josue says that, can you guide me on how to join a Toastmasters club? Thank you. And I can see Doreen is excited about that. She will, or even Sato will be, they'll shortly be telling us about the clubs. And yes, thank you so much, Lumia, for helping us. So, Reverier, thanks the panelists for the detailed, exposition on his question. And finally, we have Trixie Patty saying, amazing. So thank you so much, my friends or good people, for your wonderful comments. Again, if you're just joining in, the video will be recorded and you can always go back to it. But the theme was the cost of glossophobia, or the cost of the fear of speaking in public. Again, if you'd like to have similar or related content, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so that you can always have updated information, and you don't have to lose or even come late because you are not aware that we were actually here gaining tons and tons of wonderful information. Now, my friends, there's a saying that even the best dancer usually leaves stage, and that's always a sad feeling for me. But I want to ask you guys, do you have any parting shots for our listeners? And if you can also talk a little bit about your Toastmasters clubs, and if anyone wants to join your club, they can know where to find you or how to get across to you. So I will start with you, Salton.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I would like to say that it was a great pleasure to be part of this conversation and to hear from our audience. It was really great. Maybe concluding, I would say that, as I already said, it's okay to have this fear of public speaking. So the first thing is to be aware of this. If you have this awareness of what is causing you to have this fear of public speaking or glossophobia, you will then make steps towards the change. And the change will happen only and only if you get to work on it. If you practice, and it's just not only practicing, because we need a safe environment. And how did I meet a safe environment? It was by joining Toastmasters. For people who would like to have this safe environment where they could practice their skills without being judged, but only helped to grow. I'm part of Toastmasters Club, and as already introduced, and we meet on Fridays, every Friday at 6:30. Maybe you will share the links, because nowadays, because of this pandemic, we had to move to online meetings. But for any change in the future, we usually meet near Silver Supermarket in Kimirongo. And nowadays we are meeting online. You can always reach to us and join our clubs, join the safe place where you can learn and grow, and of course beat this fear of public speaking. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sato, for your wonderful parting shots. Maybe can I ask you, does your club have social media accounts, or is there like a Twitter handle people can hold on to so that they get maybe directions in the next meeting?
Yeah, they can find us on Twitter, TM Official. We are on Twitter, and we always share updates on how to join our meetings, posters, so they can find us there, and we'll guide them to our club meeting.
Again, thank you so much. I will repeat, it is Trace Official, TM Official, right? At Trace TM Official. You can always reach out to the club, and we'll try to put all that in our comments later so that people can actually get access to that and get where to find Trace Toastmasters. All right. About you, Doreen, any parting shots, and where do you find Kigali Executive Toastmasters?
So I have two parting shots. I was just thinking about it just right now. First and foremost, because of the pandemic, people are not able to physically meet with one another and share, light moments here and there, or probably improve on their communication or leadership skills. But I want to say that there's a good side about the pandemic, or working from home, I could say. I do not know of any other initiative or educational program that promotes or encourages public speaking other than Toastmasters. So with the Toastmasters journey, you are able to sit at the comfort of your home and switch on your laptop with your good internet and attend meetings from across the world, be it Kenya, be it Uganda, be it Ethiopia, United States, Tanzania. And these countries I'm mentioning is because I have had the opportunity to actually do my public speaking there, and I don't take it for credit. I don't take it for granted, because you never know. The journey of 1,000, they say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a simple step. So the simple step is, logging onto a virtual Zoom meeting and see what these guys are doing. What is this Toastmasters about? And how can I, be a part of this thing? So it being that most of us are working from home, make the use of the technology, the virtual world. Try to read and engage yourself with peers and positive vibes, like someone said, to have yourself grow and learn to be a great public speaker. And then the other parting shot is from a book. Is from a book by Richard Branson. I just like the title. It's the book I'm currently reading. I just like the title, and this was a book that was recommended by one of a great public speaker, and I truly owe my journey to him. He is Eric Murithi, and another lady is Connie Shemerire. So the book is called Screw It, Let's Do It. Right? Screw it, let's do it. So it's a book, very funny, but let's do it. Let's speak. Let's go for it. Let's do it. And why not? I mean, what do you have to lose? It's not the end of the world, really. It's not a final exam. There is always going to be a progress. There's always going to be something to learn. And there is that vibe that, you know what, yeah, I messed up here, but I feel confident that I spoke, right? I feel confident that I did something. And, you tend not to see the impact, but actually there is an impact into your life. So those are my two parting shots. Screw it, let's do it, and then utilize the online virtual meetings to help you better yourself in public speaking. And as a Toastmaster, I am part of the Kigali Executives Toastmasters Club that meets every second and fourth Thursday of the month. Every second and fourth Thursday of the month. We are actually meeting this Thursday. You can use our social media platforms to follow us. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Kigali_exec. Then Facebook, it's also Kigali Executives. Or better still, you can follow me at Doreen18. That's on Twitter, and on Facebook and LinkedIn, Uwera Doreen. Hit me with a DM and say, look, I was interested by your talk on public speaking, and I will surely help you get to being a part of your Toastmasters journey. Remember, it is at Kigali_exec or at Doreen18 on Twitter, Uwera Doreen on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then I would be glad to support you. Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Thank you so much, Salto. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you've had it for yourself. It is the opportunity now for you to take the bull by the horns and grow, and just go for that opportunity to grow yourself. We've also heard about at the beginning that the cost is there. There's so much for us to lose when we don't develop our skills, when we don't develop our confidence, because there are so many opportunities out there for us to take when we are confident communicators and great communicators. The good news is it doesn't end there. We did talk about a few things you can actually do. We talked about preparation. We talked about making research, talked about giving yourself a chance to go through, because building experience, simply because that you didn't do well now does not mean you cannot do it tomorrow. So give yourself a chance to constantly grow and even become better. And I'd like to emphasize the 3 key tips that they shared with us, which is practice, practice, and practice before you actually go for your presentation, for your speech, because that gives you the courage, that gives you confidence that you actually know what you're going to say. And maybe just a side thing, if you think that using the big words is what wins in the audience, Carl and even each and every panelist here has reminded us that you know what, it is not the big words that matter. It actually is the simplicity of the sentence that you construct, the simplicity of your message that helps your audience to actually listen to you. So we want to thank you so much, every one of you. I can't say a name after name, but I will really, really want to thank you, especially those of you that tuned in and those of you that were able to contribute. Barbara, Carl, many of you really were able to contribute to this conversation. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that without you tonight, it would not have been the same. So I want to thank you so much for being part of tonight's Speakers Pulse. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to remind you, if you want to be part of this conversation, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and always receive any notifications about anything new that is coming. If you want to continuously follow this conversation, it's going to continue online. Find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, find us at LinkedIn, and you will find a Speakers Pulse, and that will be us. And if you have any suggestions on how to make the conversations better, please go ahead and give us feedback. If you think this a topic that you want us to talk about, the area of public speaking and leadership, please let me know through those channels and let us make it happen. Remember, this is your chance. This is your opportunity to learn and grow and become better. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Just screw it. Go for it.
Let's do it.
Take it until you make it.
Until you make it is another thing. So we have had a wonderful pleasure of having you tonight, and we thank you so much for being part of this conversation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you once again in the next fortnight. Until then, this will always be the Speakers Pulse.
Thank you.